morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning to you. A big thank you to that one on Twitter for the picture you're looking at above. As usual, this video is chock full. So let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off today with Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh. He hosted the annual festival-style celebrations at Buckingham Palace for young people who have achieved their Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award. It's another garden party. So they welcome thousands of achievers. There's bunting, lawn games, military bands. There's speeches from inspiring figures and celebrity supporters. And this is held over several days with the peak in May. We know this already. And so I just think it's lovely, again, that he's still doing the Duke of Edinburgh Awards. Fabulous. And we're going to stick with Edward. He went a day or two ago to Canada House, and he was there as the International Award Canada and the King's Trust Canada for the signing of a statement of intended partnership. They're bringing new opportunities to Ontario's secondary students. I think that's wonderful. Again, to help build leadership, confidence, and future-ready skills that these people are going to need to succeed in life. Wonderful. Let's move on to Edward's fabulous wife, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. She attended the opening day of the 2026 Devon County Show. This took place on Thursday, May 21st. As a former past president of the agricultural event, she's doing a 4-hour tour to highlight the long-standing commitment to British agriculture and rural communities. She did a lot while she was there. First, she went to Farm Wise, where she participated, as you're about to see, in hands-on scone baking with a 3-year-old. Yeah, that's fun. Then she went to the Food and Drink Pavilion, where she toured the marquee, sampled some Devon cider, and viewed various prize-winning local blends. She spent some time meeting with members of the Young Farmers Club, agricultural volunteers, and military personnel. She walked through the sheep areas, for livestock and awards, and presented an Outstanding Service Award to one of the volunteers. She watched a musical performance on the BBC Devon Together stage, signaling her approval to the performers. This fair runs May 21st to May 23rd. It's coordinated by the Devon County Agricultural Association, and it brings together food producers, livestock competitions, and countryside traditions. Now, there were some other notable guests over the weekend. There was Martin Clune, who opened the Heavy Horse Festival. There were some celebrity chefs. Fabulous. Let's move on to Eugenie and Jack. Apparently, they were seen attending a private dinner party for Discovery Dunes. It's a Dubai-based company, and it's a members-only golf residential community for families. I don't know what I'm thinking about that. Guy Ritchie was there with his wife. Former cricketer Freddie Flintoff was there with his wife. But, yeah. All right, let's continue. You guys should know a poll was taken whether it was right that Beatrice and Eugenie were not attending any of these Buckingham Palace garden parties, and most people agree it was the correct decision. Let's move on now to William. He's back from Istanbul, and on May 21st, he visited a newly built Cornish suburb. It's a sustainable urban extension located on the outskirts of Newquay. So he toured the community to view the progress of the Duchy of Cornwall's housing and infrastructure projects. And his visit specifically highlighted solutions for local housing shortages and homelessness. Now, there were some key details here. First, he explored plans for this new high street scheduled for completion in 2028, which will provide commercial space for local artisans and independent enterprises. He met with local families residing in the development's first long-term rental units, which are designed to support residents who otherwise struggle to afford housing in the area. He checked on the construction of 24 new homes being built in partnership with the charity St. Patrick's to provide temporary accommodations with a path to permanent support. And we know that this visit followed the announcement of the Duchy of Cornwall's plans to sell off 20% of its property portfolio over the next decade, with the sale intended to raise $500 million to fund affordable social housing and green energy infrastructure across primary regional hubs. Now, another bit of information came up which I found very interesting. Williams Charity is rescuing new but unsold cooktops, fridges, and washing machines to be put into the accommodations for people who have been homeless, because research has apparently shown people who move into properties that have appliances and furniture are less likely to slip back into homelessness. So they're taking surplus equipment like refrigerators with damaged packaging that retailers would not sell, and they're going to use them in the new houses. Company Bosch apparently came out and said cookers, fridges, freezers, and smaller items like kettles, toasters, and vacuum cleaners can be returned to the manufacturer by retailers because of defects like damaged packaging or other superficial damage, but the stock is still in perfect working condition. And so the Homeward scheme, they said, was an incredible project in how to make use of the discarded products, because you can fundamentally change someone's life. He said he did not realize that some accommodations came completely unfurnished, and the cost of buying equipment can put the new residents into debt and restart the spiral of homelessness. So I just think it's wonderful. All right, let's move on now to King Charles. Day 2 of his Northern Ireland visit in the seaside town of Newcastle, down under, where he toured local community hubs, and he had a very memorable encounter with a seagull. So the first thing that happened was he was doing an outdoor walkabout, and a seagull dropped some bird droppings on the back of his jacket, and he was joking around going, well, at least he didn't land on my head. But a bystander did tell him that it was a sign of good luck. I'm glad that he has a really good sense of humor. So let's look at some of the stuff that they did. The King and the Queen kind of split off. So Charles visited the Newcastle Community Cinema. He was greeted by a lot of crowds. He was presented with a VIP movie ticket. And then after he went inside, he was seen hugging this woman. Now, this woman is Agnes Carberry, who stars in a Northern Ireland film, A Quiet Voice, with her husband, John Camberry. Oh, wonderful. King Charles also visited a local food bank that's held at the Darnard Methodist Church, where he helped volunteers pack grocery parcels for vulnerable residents, and he was gifted a jar of local honey. Now, you should know that he offered to put the volunteers there in touch with one of his own charities, which works in food distribution. And he said to them, "You are all very wonderful people, and what you do is so important." I agree. Now, the one thing I happened to notice after, of course, he was admiring his jar of honey that he'd been gifted, just like with David Beckham's flowers, there was some bread. Oh yeah, put his nose right in there. I love that about him. So while Charles is doing that, Camilla went off to her own visits in Hillsborough. And again, her tour on day 2 highlighted local businesses and heritage. The first thing she did was visit the oldest shop in the village, where she was presented with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. I just love those. She did do a broader walkabout where she interacted with local school children, well-wishers, and independent business owners. Well, that makes perfect sense. So at one point, Camilla stepped into a local pub and restaurant and decided that she was going to step behind the taps and pull her own pint. The place is called the Parson's Nose Pub, and she was joking around with the people there that her husband's expertise as she poured the Guinness was better than hers. Now, this brought the entire village to a standstill. Everybody was watching her. She goes, "I'm not quite the expert. My husband is." She poured a perfect pint, and then everybody burst into applause. And by now, word of the Queen's attendance in the village had spread, and people started lining the streets behind the barriers. Unbelievable. She also enjoyed a special performance from a choir of local special school before chatting to several of the singers. She got another gorgeous bouquet of flowers. While she was there, she looked at some local jewelry that was made by some local artisans, and then she stepped into Arthur's Coffee House, where she spoke directly with traders, residents, and customers who had lined up to meet her. And then, when she was done with her walkabout, she reunited with the king for the next event of the day. Now, to round out the second day, they concluded their visit in style. They had a garden party at Hillsborough Castle. There were about 500 guests. Remember, this is the official residence of the monarch in Northern Ireland. Camilla met with a group of officers from the 2nd Battalion, the Rifles, based in Lisbon, of which she is the colonel-in-chief. She was very excited to meet them, very happy. They had just come back from a recent tour of Iraq. One of the soldiers, who cannot be named for security reasons, explained that she had secretly sent them supplies of tea and duchy biscuits to keep their spirits up during their posting from last December until March of this year. He said, "She's an amazing colonel. We all adore her." Well, that's nice. He says, "In return, we sent her a picture of us holding cigarettes and her tea and biscuits in a bomb shelter." We had a bit of correspondence after that, and we got several letters from her. They think she's absolutely brilliant. While they were at this garden party, they decided to plant a tree. I think that's wonderful. It's a Malice royalty tree. Ooh, that's just a fancy name for a purple crabapple tree. Now, the tree planting is a historic royal tradition at the castle that spans more than 150 years. That's really something, let me tell you. Now, they were digging into the planting turf. They engaged again with local musicians and all kinds of stuff that they did. I think this was a very successful trip. We're going to finish up day 3, and this may not be in the correct order. Camilla went to Women's Aid, where she met staff and volunteers, hearing firsthand about the breadth and impact of their services. It is reported that the police service of Northern Ireland receives a report of domestic abuse about every 16 minutes and an offense of a certain kind of nature every 2 hours. They deliver services to some of the most vulnerable of the population. Now, at some point, Charles and Camilla went to Conway Square, where they looked at a celebration of local food, artists, and businesses, which I'm sure is lovely. But to me, nothing competes with that adorable dog that Camilla picked up. And, you know, dogs are like children. They understand the good from the bad. And this dog absolutely loved Camilla and was licking her face. It's absolutely fabulous. And it wasn't just him. Charles also ran into a couple of fabulous animals that thought that Charles and Camilla were just the nicest. Look at that smile on the dog's face. I mean, you know, animals can tell what's going on. You know what I'm saying. While the Queen was doing the domestic violence event, King Charles went to Ard's allotment. This is a community allotment. He toured the gardens, he spoke with volunteers, and he actually showcased a hidden talent. Look at that. He picked up the ukulele and he was playing alongside the Men's Shed Ukulele Ensemble. Now, for those of you who are on Twitter, I beg of you to go to the royal family's website and listen to the music. Obviously, for copyright, I can't play it on here, but it was some of the most amazing music. And the fact that the king was able to just pick up a ukulele and start playing along with them, I thought was just absolutely hilarious. It's a hidden talent. I don't think anybody knew that he could play the ukulele. I guess if you can play the guitar, I could be wrong, but isn't a ukulele just a smaller guitar? Okay. Anyway, he picked it up and he played it. Now, he wasn't quite done on the last day. King Charles visited the warehouse. It's a community hub that's housed in a transformed former pub. It functions as a food hub that recycles surplus ingredients from supermarkets to provide free food supplies, groceries, and about 150 hot or take-home meals daily to anybody in the community without restriction. So Charles went into the kitchen to assist the on-site head chef, her name is Dawn Stewart, by helping to whisk up a gluten-free chocolate cake mix made from surplus ingredients. The creation was dubbed the Community Hub's VIP dessert. And while the king was baking, that was when Camilla met with volunteers to learn about their blind date with a book initiative, which promotes literacy by wrapping books in plain paper with shorter teaser descriptions. And then they cut a cake at the end with staff and volunteers. They got a free framed keepsake and they participated in a impromptu walkabout. And that was the end of their trip. Fabulous. One other thing, on St. Helena Day, which was May 21st, King Charles traditionally issues a formal message to the governor, the chief minister, and the residents of the island, conveying sincere congratulations to everyone who calls St. Helena home and celebrating the island's National Day. Fabulous. Now, we are going to finish up this segment by showing you everything that everybody was wearing. Thank you to Remoulade Sauce and to Carol M. So take a look at this and then we'll move on. Now, while all of this is going on, a radio station in Essex decided they would announce the death of King Charles. Listen to this.
This is Radio Caroline. We have suspended our normal programs until further notice as a mark of respect following the passing of His Majesty King Charles III. This is Radio Caroline. His Majesty King Charles III has passed away. As a mark of respect, we will now be playing suitable continuous music until further notice. This is Radio Caroline. The news media has confirmed that His Majesty King Charles III has passed away. Consequently, as a mark of respect, Radio Caroline is suspending its normal programs.
So then they played the national anthem, and then later on they put out a notice, we're sorry if we distressed anybody. Like, what the heck was that? I don't know if that was supposed to be a joke, but if it was not funny. Let's move on now to our Harry Meghan stuff. You know, Harry and Meghan were sent a very intentional message by the royal family. We know that they remain strained, and absolutely no royals attempted to congratulate them. I mean, I think that's very telling, because even though Harry and Meghan went out of their way to make it a big public thing on Instagram, they're saying there was no phone call, no private messages, no peace offering, absolutely nothing. And the silence was intentional. Now, Meghan's Instagram pictures excluded members of the royal family except for King Charles, and that did not go unnoticed. The photos, were exclusively about Harry and Meghan. It was like the royals were completely erased from the story. King Charles, again, was seen in just one of the 24 pictures with his back to the camera as he got ready to walk Meghan down the aisle. I have to tell you, a lot of people said that Harry and Meghan should just pass the sick bucket around. You would think it was their diamond anniversary. You would think just one anniversary post would have been enough. But Meghan pulled out all the stops and shared several more. And that was done intentionally to show you that they're happy, that they're still in love. And there's every chance that their kids weren't even there with Meghan delivering, a little story. But who knows? It was just disgusting. It's hideous. I mean, and the penguin thing, like, where would you put that in your house? Exactly. Now let's move on to what is our big story for today. It came out that Harry and Meghan have lost their high-profile allies, like the Clooneys and the Beckhams, and that's happened due to concerns over persistent drama, costly demands, and misplaced accusations of leaking stories. Let's start with the Clooneys. They were previously close enough to host Harry and Meghan at Lake Como, and the Clooneys stepped back due to all the ongoing public controversies and what insiders described as demanding behavior. And because of that, Harry and Meghan are never invited to any of the events that the Clooneys host. They also happen to be staunch royalists. Then, of course, after the Clooneys, you have the Beckhams. Now, initially, they had a very warm relationship. We know that Harry and William are both friends with David Beckham. But apparently, Meghan suspected Victoria of leaking stories about them to the press. And that accusation left David Beckham furious. And that has resulted in a permanent rift between David Beckham and Harry. Then, of course, you have Netflix. Now, keep in mind that the Beckhams had no problems with Netflix whatsoever. So after this flashy start with the Harry and Meghan docu-series, where Meghan really upset a lot of people, every other follow-up venture has underperformed. Meghan's lifestyle show with Love Meghan was savaged and failed to crack the top 10. Her animated series Pearl was very quietly dropped after an attorney got involved because they found out that she had plagiarized it. And the friction really got to a high level when Netflix underwent a massive business shift, moving away from huge upfront platform payments towards low-risk first-look deals. Now, the couple's transition as their As Ever brand then got dropped by Netflix, which prompted industry speculation that the Sussexes were frustrated by the streamers' cautious approach to their content. We know that's not what really happened. Despite the loss of all their A-list friends and the initial corporate friction, it's being said that Harry, Meghan, and Archewell remains contracted with Netflix for several upcoming projects. We have Meet Me at the Lake that was announced August 7th of 2023. Nothing's happened. We have The Wedding Date that was announced in December of 2025. Nobody's heard anything about it since. And now they've announced an Afghan series. I wonder if they're actually going to produce any of this stuff. And if they do, if it'll be worth a damn. I'm thinking not. Oh my goodness, you guys know I want your comments, so put them down, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.